is going to go a long way to see if someone can catch those two teams out front.
And these two head coaches, Gary Patterson down in Fort Worth, Matt Campbell here in Ames, they still have championship aspirations, and really, Kelly, they control their own destinies in this league.
Yeah, and we're going to see a slobber knocker here today. It's a physical game. The last two contests between these teams have been incredibly tight, well coached on the defensive side, and offenses that have a few riddles that they have to figure out here today.
56 degrees, a slight breeze. All the rain is pushed through. We are ready to go here in beautiful Ames, Iowa. ISU won the coin toss and deferred. Darius Davis from a yard deep. And a patient run, a hard hit out of bounds. It'll be 1st and 10 at the 21. Well, Max Duggan, quarterback, the freshman, an Iowa native from right up the road in Council Bluffs, was the player of the year in this great state. Enrolled at TCU early, and tell you what, Kelly, he is a multi-sport standout, playing baseball, basketball, ran some track, and of course we know about his talents on the gridiron. Highly touted.
Yeah, and obviously a very good athlete, and I think early the key for Duggan is going to be whether he has too much juice going. He's coming home playing in front of a bunch of family and friends, and he's going to have to be contained and calm early in this game.
Shewo Alanalua gets the first carry of the afternoon. Bottled up after a 2-yard gain. Lawrence White got there first.
So we get our first look at that Iowa State defense that we'll be talking about. It's kind of the craze right now in college football. A lot of colleges, actually 35 to 40, came through to take a look at Iowa State this offseason to see how you're slowing down these hurry-up spread teams. We'll have a couple hours to pontificate on that.
And what a great job John Haycock has done changing the complexion of this ISU defense. Deep handoff, nowhere to run, bottled up, driven down quickly. It was Enrique, the tackle, and a flag on the field at the 24.
During the run, holding by the defense, number 58. 10-yard penalty will be enforced from the end of the run and results in a first down.
Ray Lima, the guilty party, as we take a look at our impact players today.
Yeah, running back Darius Anderson is the explosive running back, home run hit ability. And then how is TCU going to get Jalen Rager going? He's off to a slow start. And then it's the safety, Eisworth. He's Mr. Everything on the back end for this Iowa State defense.
It should have been 3rd and long. Instead, it's a first down, play action. Duggan, buy a little time and escape. Making something out of nothing. He'll scamper out short of the first down, a gain of 9, and Marcel Spears ushered him out, and in fact, they'll give him the first down.
And that's where you see the athleticism out of Duggan, and we talked about that, and it's really kind of a contained scheme right now to run it, to protect your young signal caller, and then throw in advantage situations against this Iowa State defense. Rushing 3 a lot of clutter on the back end.
Empty backfield, they'll run the freshman, and left side, nothing doing. Stop for no gain. It was Spears and White getting there first.
Yeah, and Spears is that playmaker at that second level. And so what we have for Iowa State defensively is it's a tight front, I believe you call it. It's kind of a throwback 50s front. You have 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, but all of those 5 players a lot of times are within the offensive tackle. Shut down the run down the middle and force everything to the edges.
Power formation. Alanalua, his 3rd carry, this time to midfield. And TCU starting to string together a couple of quality plays here.
Yeah, in running the football, that's who TCU has been. And coming into this year, TCU offensively thought they were built to run. They have an offensive line that's more of a veteran group. They're healthier, and also their probably most talented group is that deep running back unit. And then you have a freshman quarterback. You protect that guy by running the football, and they're doing it extremely well in 2019.
Eight in the box for Iowa State. They'll run it, trying to get through the A gap. Lawrence White, his 3rd tackle on this possession.
I think this play is a lot about protecting the freshman quarterback, Max Duggan, early. It's 3rd and 5, middle of the field. You would typically maybe roll the youngster outside and throw the football there, but no mistakes early. Punt is not a bad thing when your signal caller is still getting his sea legs.
Well, you think about the last 2 matchups between these 2 programs. 17-14 2 years ago here. Check that last season. 14-7 rather 2 years ago here in this very same venue as we step aside. Trying to cut it loose today, Kelly. Johnny Lang in the backfield, first carry of the afternoon. He pushes his way forward for a gain of 2. Russ Blacklock got there first.
Well, Roy, you told us that Brock Purdy is just trying to cut it loose this year. And you can see a very efficient offense, only a couple of 3-and-outs all 2019. But Brock Purdy personally has been pressing a little bit. So he has to step back, take what the defense gives him, and just move the chains.
Jones in motion. Purdy in the pocket, fires that way. Jones has it for a first down for the Cyclones. Close to midfield. It'll be a first down, ISU.
Desante Jones essentially just out-leverages the TCU defense. Brock Purdy had the protection inside and could wait just a little bit longer on that wheel route by Jones.
After a gain of 26, inside handoff, nothing doing. Van Zandt belted him down.
And Roy, Iowa State will use Jones just like that. He comes out of the backfield, kind of a 2 running back set, and then he motions back and forth to Desante Jones.
Cyclones utilizing tempo across the middle and into plus territory. Brought down at the 49 by Merrick.
This Iowa State offense really has changed its personality this year to fit more of what Brock Purdy does, minus the running back David Montgomery and minus the go-to receiver in Akeem Butler. And so now Brock Purdy is front and center, and I think that was pressing him a little bit early in this year. And he told us yesterday he needs to step back and just play within the scheme of the offense.
44% on 3rd down this season. Certainly respectable here in Ames. Purdy off the back foot. Fires a rocket that's caught. Good enough for the first down. And Desante Jones makes his 3rd catch on this possession.
And I said minus Akeem Butler. And so who is that go-to guy? Desante Jones is kind of emerging as that guy.
Clean pocket. Purdy wants it all. Looking for Melton. Gladney in coverage. A flag on the field back at the 39.
Ineligible receiver downfield. Offense, number 88, was covered up on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
Charlie Kohler.
And that was most likely unintentional. Kohler was the in man on the line of scrimmage, so the receiver outside of him has to get off the line, and that double move by Milton was probably the reason he was on the line. He had a double move on Gladney down the field and got a little bit anxious, lined up in the wrong position.
So 5 minutes in after a 2-hour weather delay. Here we are, scoreless between these 2 Big 12 programs. Purdy's going to keep it. There he goes, Brock Purdy. 2 men to beat. Can he get there? Shoved out near the 1-yard line by Merrick. It'll be 1st and goal after a gain of 45.
The old school quarterback zone read. Brock Purdy is going to read the in man on the line of scrimmage. If he dives for the running back, Purdy pulls it, and in this case has a splash play. First thing Gary Patterson told us yesterday when we met with him, we have to stop quarterback run. That's not a very good example of it.
Purdy's longest rush of this season. 1st and goal from inside the 2. Play action. Wide open in the end zone. It's Chase Allen. And Iowa State draws first blood here at home.
A little bit of run game, whether it's the quarterback or running back, makes so many things better on the offensive side. So that was play action pass and then dump it over the top to Chase Allen. 6'6", 6'7" target down deep in the red zone.
81 yards in 7 plays, just over 3 minutes off the clock. Connor is solid. Bangs home the extra point. Good start for Brock Purdy today here, Kelly.
Brock Purdy supplementing the run game on the quarterback zone read, and then it's a simple toss over the top to a massive target in Chase Allen.
Over models of homes and buildings, right up my alley, especially on a day like today where weather has been a factor, Kelly Stoffer.
The people at home know that your nickname is Stormy Philpott. You're intrigued by weather. There isn't any question about it.
Iowa State out to a 7-0 advantage. Here's Darius Anderson, first touch of the afternoon. And now our second look at Max Duggan and Lauren Sisler. An emotional day for the Duggan family, is it not?
Yeah, the Duggan family here in force. Max Duggan actually requested 50 tickets from the team's allotment. So instead of it being the visitor section today, it is the Duggan section. But for Max, the young quarterback, he wants to come out here and compete. And it starts in the run game. Sonny Cumbie said they will let the run game work for Max, but also they want to open up the passing game, allowing Max to get his feet under him and to find his comfort zone.
That comfort zone, we think, will be defined by early screen passes.
Yeah, I think the quick pass game and screens are right at the top of the list, but the run game is front and center for this TCU offense.
Anderson is the new running back, one of the top backs in the country. His nickname is Jet, and he has nowhere to run on first down after making the quick catch. Anthony Johnson with a stop.
Roy, the problem with that pass game that TCU is looking for, get Max Duggan in a rhythm early, but there's a lot of clutter on the back end. Typically, Iowa State is dropping 8, and that's difficult to sort through as a young quarterback.
After a loss of a yard, here's Duggan. Pass is batted down as we go back to the studio and check in with Kevin Connors. So Maryland trying to bounce back after a tough loss against Penn State. Third down here for TCU. Duggan off the back foot, incomplete, trying to spot Jalen Reagor. He was blanketed by Anthony Johnson.
And you can see the issues in that pass game. So what Iowa State wants to do defensively, and it's kind of the rage right now in college football against spread teams, is rush 3, drop 8, try to funnel the offense to a pass down, and then you can get it exotic as you want. And Iowa State did on that play. And in the end, it was great man-to-man coverage on the back end, and the youngster Duggan had nowhere to go.
Sandy punts it away under heavy pressure as Milton makes a fair catch at the 36. Punt of 36 yards. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Cyclones after this. Well, a perfect start for Brock Purdy, who happens to be in our player spotlight, brought to you by ExxonMobil. 4th in the country in total offense coming into this game. But again, Kelly wants to try to cut it loose today. So far, so good.
Yeah, and I love the insert of the quarterback zone read on that first drive and that big splash play by Brock Purdy. And they're going to need more of that because David Montgomery is playing with the Chicago Bears, and this offense has been built around him the last few years in Ames.
Purdy off the pump fake. Jones has it into TCU territory. DeShante Jones getting it done early in this one.
A little play action, move Brock Purdy out to his left, and then it's 2 receivers, and DeShante Jones is the second level. You had a running back going to the flat, and then Brock Purdy gets his feet set, squares his shoulders to the line of scrimmage, and throws a seed to Jones once again.
Already with 4 grabs for 68 yards is DeShante Jones. Lang motions out. Quick screen. And a short pickup ahead to the 30-yard line. Garrett Wallow with the tackles. We take a look again at our impact players.
Well, for Iowa State offensively, Charlie Kohler, the tight end position as a whole has been an emphasis this year. And then the corner, Julius Lewis, he's opposite of Jeff Gladney. So you really have two lockdown corners. And I think the game plan is lock down both edges and double the inside receivers. And Iowa State's getting the best of that thus far.
Well, Tom Manning kind of hinted. He's opened up the playbook a couple of times this year. Johnny Lane spins around after a short gain. It'll be 3rd down and manageable. That was Real Mitchell who caught that last pass, the backup quarterback here at ISU.
Yeah, and we were at practice yesterday and we watched Mitchell run around a little bit, and we saw that. He not only took second team reps, he took some specialty package reps as what you just talked about, more of a receiver.
Under 6 to play in the first. 3rd down and 5. Purdy. Couple of pump fakes. Now flush directing traffic. Caught! And a shoestring grab at the 11. That'll move the chains. Who else? DeJounte Jones.
I love the movement, the subtle movement in the pocket by Brock Purdy, and then he throws DeJounte Jones on the sideline, and certainly this will be reviewed because it was touch and go.
The offense, the wide receiver stepped out of bounds on his own, reestablished inbounds, and was first to touch the pass. Penalty places the ball at the previous spot, includes a loss of down.
So down. Initially, you'll see the hat come off of the official, which means the receiver stepped out of bounds, and then it's a penalty, which it was in this case, if the receiver is then the first one to touch the football. So Jones goes out of bounds by the goal line, works back, which you're supposed to do when your quarterback leaves the pocket. But he was out of bounds to begin with, and so that's an illegal touch by an offensive player. I love the subtle movement, though, in the pocket by Brock Purdy. That's one of the things that I would like to see him do more of. Instead of escaping right away to become a runner, move and keep the pass alive down the field.
Kicking game has been an issue this season for Iowa State. They'll go for it here. Purdy escapes. And it'll be dropped short of the line to gain. Garrett Wallow. A patient stop to end the threat for the Cyclones. Well, don't forget, Big 12 fans, now ESPN Plus is a must-have for each and everyone. It's the exclusive home for the weekly Les Miles All Access show, plus hundreds of men's and women's basketball games headed your way this winter. Sign up today at ESPNplus.com.
Yeah, Roy, you talked about it. Going for it on 4th down because of the kicking game question marks for Iowa State, and it truly does change how you proceed once you get deep in the red zone, and that's exactly what happened to Iowa State right there.
Five-man box for ISU. Pump fake by Duggan. Now he'll show his versatility, and Duggan close to another 1st down. Again, we check in with Lauren.
After that last series, Max Duggan came off the field. He was talking through that last series with his offense. He closed by saying, "We're good, we're good." So a very confident quarterback down here going into this next series.
Yeah, Lord, I think it's all about, is he good? I think he's a little amped up. I think he's a true freshman to begin with coming home. That's a lot on that young man's plate early in this game.
On 2nd and short, they'll try to get Rager involved. Only needed about 2 inches, and he's going to lose a couple. Ryan Vance.
We met with Sonny Cumbie, the offensive play caller for TCU. He called these cheap touches. When you can guarantee your playmaker getting the ball in plays just like this. And there's a lot of ways to get your alpha receiver going, and that's one of them.
Third and short. Cyclone showing pressure. Anderson gets it. Doesn't need much. And this one will be close. Depends on the spot. Ozuna brought him down. And they're going to take time out here for a measurement.
Darius Anderson does a nice job of stepping back to his right. It was a double team zone type of run to the left, but the best running backs have good vision, and they sometimes can get their own as well, and that's creating your own shot by Anderson to get anything.
And a first down. Well, Kelly, you feel like that's an important sequence right now for Duggan to get his feet underneath him a little bit more and to settle down playing close to home.
I think that's a great point. Remember, they were 3rd and 11 the last time they got booted off the field, and so now they get in 3rd and manageable, eke out a first down, and the more you can possess it, especially early for Max Duggan, the better it's going to be for him.
Anderson lines up in the slot, bottom of your screen. Quick toss, pass is caught. John Stevens makes the catch, and that'll move the sticks once again.
And Roy, there the quicks you talked about. Go down and show your Stevens just shows his numbers to the quarterback, and it literally is called all hitch. And you just find a void in that zone on the back end, that clutter that I talked about on Iowa State's secondary, and it's the most basic completion you can make as a quarterback.
Third catch of the season for Stevens. 3-man front for the Cyclones. Anderson through the A-gap, bolts ahead into plus territory, and a gain of 7 on first down.
This type of defense from Iowa State, Roy, forces the offense to be patient. That's really the advent of this defense in the Big 12. Force offensive coordinators and quarterbacks in this high-scoring league to be more patient in order to get points. So Max Duggan is going to have to be that patient quarterback today.
TCU 8th in the country in rushing yards per game coming in, just 34 so far. Anderson left side with real estate. First down for the Horned Frogs, and there he goes. Ushered out inside the 25.
Gary Patterson told us yesterday that he felt the offense was built to run the football this year. Get a hat on a hat up front. Darius Anderson is much healthier now than he was last season, and he's really the explosive home run type guy, so he can bounce it out of the point of attack initially and get a splash play like he did right there.
The field starting to open up now for TCU. Anderson, same play. And give him a gain of 4, maybe 5. Iowa State defensively has been pretty stout against the run so far, but TCU has been elite on the ground.
This really is good on good as far as the rushing game is concerned. TCU has been lighting it up, and Iowa State's defense is literally designed to force the run to the edges, take away the north-south run that spread teams are known for, and then absorb that run. It's called spill and kill on the outside by safety linebacker type guys.
Officially a gain of 3. Alana checks back in. Sit down quickly by Matt Leo. He's going to lose 4.
Matt Leo is defensive end to the right side and is just going to get off. And that's what you have to do as a defensive end, is get your hands on the block. In this case, it's just give him the okey-doke. And so situational football right here for Max Duggan. You have a field goal on the board is what you have to be telling yourself. Nothing in harm's way right here.
Frogs need 11. Quick strike, caught well short of the line to gain. To Valence Hunt with the catch, but Johnson brought him to the turf quickly. And that will be the final play of a fast-moving first quarter. 7-0 our score. Iowa State not in front of TCU. Well, make sure you join Boom and Ryan Clark on NFL Primetime at 7:30 Eastern. That's tomorrow, only on ESPN Plus. We'll have the highlights and breakdowns from Sunday's games. To get ESPN Plus, download the app or go to ESPNplus.com. Jonathan Song hit the game winner last year in this contest down in Fort Worth. And a 38-yard attempt on the way is good. And so TCU on the board officially from 37 yards out. And our new score 7-3, 5 seconds in here in our second quarter, back in 30. Back in Ames, 7-3 our score in this Big 12 matchup. Iowa State and TCU. Last drive for the Horned Frogs. 10 plays, 53 yards. Gary Patterson's got to be pleased with the response by his freshman signal caller.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, the need to really possess the football for a moment, and 10 plays does just that. And I like the way it ended. They didn't get in the end zone to TCU, but it was a good decision by the freshman quarterback, Max Duggan. A slant route you completed. It's well defended by Anthony Johnson, but you get 3 on the board.
Griffin Kell into the end zone. Back to the studio we go, and Kevin Connors. Well, strange things tend to happen in Lubbock, Texas, and the Pokes finding that out the hard way today.
Who is Texas Tech? I mean, you can't really figure that team out. And Oklahoma State, run it with Hubbard, or what else do they have? I mean, that's what they're in the process of discovering.
Chuba Hubbard having an incredible season, almost 1,000 yards on the ground before today. Purdy straight ahead as the pocket collapses. Had a 45-yard rush earlier. Will escape for about 5 yards here in his gains with a stop.
And Purdy is making some decent decisions early. And I told you, one of the focuses for me watching tape on Brock Purdy to begin this preparation for this game is his pocket presence. Sometimes he becomes a runner of the football too quickly. You have to milk it as long as you have protection in the pocket, because it puts more stress on the back end if they don't know whether you're running or throwing.
Here's Breece Hall straight ahead. His stepfather played at Nebraska, tripped up after a gain of 1 by Wallow. The Cyclones showing tempo on this third down play. Purdy, here comes pressure, releases, caught, first down. Darren Wilson, that'll move the sticks, ushered out at the 40.
And Wilson is matched up outside on Jeff Gladney. Gary Patterson says Gladney his best cover guy, even though Julius Lewis, the other corner, has been absent this year until today. You have really 2 good-looking corners, but Darren Wilson got the best of it outside there.
A perfect start for Purdy. On the ground and through the air. Tom Manning told us something interesting yesterday. He said, if you tempt him, he'll usually take the bait. We've got to figure out a way to realize it's okay to punt if the drive isn't going the way you would like it to. As Purdy barrels ahead, a gain of 3, maybe 4, and a late flag. Check the flag, no penalty. Van Zandt with a tackle, but it's part of the growing up process for just a sophomore quarterback.
Without a question. And a sophomore quarterback that was told in the offseason that, oh, by the way, the offense is going to more resemble you going forward, because we don't have the alpha running back or alpha wide receiver identified yet. So we're going to hitch the wagon to you. And I think that caused a little inward pressure initially in Brock Purdy.
Hall remains on the field. Purdy tosses forward. And a gain of 3 as we check in again with Lauren.
Yeah, Brock Purdy doing a tremendous job of running this offense. But one thing that both helps him and hurts him is this pressure he puts on himself. He feels he has to carry all the weight on his shoulders, but he did tell us yesterday that last week in the 4th quarter against Baylor, that really changed when he told himself he needs to take that pressure off, have a little more fun. He's taking that nothing to lose mindset and is applying it moving forward, and it looks like he's applying it well out here today.
Heavy pressure from Ennis Gaines.
Yeah, and Brock Purdy just simply did not see this well from his backside. There's going to be pressure off the edge. And you got to understand that as a quarterback. Where is the unblocked guy coming from, and how much time do I have? I don't mind if you take the hit, but if you're going to take the hit, make the completion. Just know where that guy is. And Brock Purdy, I think, was surprised by it.
Joe Rivera turns it over beautifully. And Rager will let it drop. Down inside the 15. 12:08 remaining, 7-3 our score. Well, this season, Taco Bell is celebrating student section and passionate fans like these by awarding the Live Moss Student Section of the Year. The Cyclones Student Section already on the watch list. Go to ESPN.com/Taco Bell to see how your school can compete or get the committee's attention by using the hashtag Live Moss Student Section Contest. A lot of energy here at Iowa State today, which we always love to see. After the punt of 39, Duggan takes over deep in his own territory. Backside pressure. Down he goes inside the 5. There goes the football. Touchdown, Iowa State. Uwazurike scooped it up for the quick 6.
Rolling on the field is a fumble recovered by Iowa State and advanced for a touchdown.
Ryan Vance with the backside hit. Duggan never had an opportunity to unload the football, Kelly.
And Iowa State was getting after the true freshman quarterback, backed up for the first time today, and Lawrence White was getting after the quarterback initially. That was picked up by the running back, and then Uwazurike ends up with the scoop and the score, but there were multiple. Vance was also coming from his middle linebacker position, so the order of the day was get after the youngster, and Iowa State did it successfully right there.
An extra point is good. Our new score, less than 12 to play in our first half, 14-3. Iowa State in search of its first conference victory on its way here at home, courtesy of that defense. Well, Uwazurike getting the job done, but a lot of pressure coming from the Iowa State defense.
Yeah, off the slot, and the young quarterback needs to recognize with the safety over the top, you have to have a red alert. And then it's also Vance, the middle linebacker, coming. So the cue for the quarterback was a safety over top of the slot defender. Why is he there? Because the slot defender's coming, and then Uwazurike is the benefactor and just scoops it and scores with it.
Ioma Uwazurike getting the job done for the ISU defense. Right place, right time. TCU in trouble on the road early. And taken by the up back for a short gain, but good field position. That was Pro Wells on the return. And a couple of flags on the field. Busy afternoon for this veteran Big 12 officiating crew. Here's Brandon Cruz once again.
During the return, illegal block in the back, receiving team number 15. 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. It's first down, TCU.
11:53 remaining here in our first half. Back in 30 seconds right after this. Well, Kevin, you certainly didn't think that lead would last as you see Dylan Thomas, the injured Horned Frog player. The wide receiver has actually caught 7 balls in his last 2 games. And that injury coming on that last kickoff. Big weekend of football. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, kick off your NFL Sunday on ESPN, 10 a.m. Eastern. See how Daniel Jones has become the new king of New York. And Randy Moss with the best catches from college football this weekend in another episode of You Got Moss. Then on Monday on ESPN and ESPN Deportes and the ESPN app, Browns and 49ers on Monday Night Football. Coverage starts with Monday Night Countdown at 6 o'clock. Baker Mayfield, Jimmy Garoppolo, what's not to love?
How about Daniel Jones? You know, Coach Cutt at Duke knows how to coach a quarterback or two. I think I would pay attention to that a little bit. You know what I mean?
It's amazing. And right now he has taken the Big Apple by storm. Injury timeout. We'll step aside as well. Back in Ames in just a few. Well, already more than an inch of rain has fallen in the Ames, Iowa area today, as Dylan Thomas is carted off the field, a junior from Fort Worth, Texas. And certainly hope he's going to be all right. Does not look good. Mentioned last 2 games has caught 7 passes. But Kelly, he was banged up last year, only played against Ohio State, missed the rest of the year. So for Gary Patterson, certainly not what you want to see for one of your emerging wideouts.
I think that's a great word, emerging, because we've already highlighted the fact that Jalen Reagor has 11 catches, off to a slow start by his standards, and hasn't been electric. You can see Dylan Thomas being carted off right there, and so you need some guys to show themselves on that group to offset Jalen Reagor's production, and that hasn't happened thus far.
The Horned Frogs in need of some offense on the road. 2 teams have been extremely competitive in their last 2 matchups. Wells, first catch, as he tumbles ahead for a gain of 2, maybe 2.5. Rose and White combined for the stop.
And that quick passing game in Sonny Cumbie, offensive play caller for TCU, told us that it's about getting Max Duggan off to a good start. Sonny said that he did a horrendous job of getting Max off to a good start against SMU, and the first 2.5 quarters didn't go very well. Duggan played really well down the stretch, however.
It's an interesting outcome in that game. SMU played it as almost like they knew what was coming most of the afternoon and took advantage of it. Slow start by the Frogs. SMU pulled off the upset. Sonny Dykes has done a great job for the Ponies. 3rd down coming up.
Sonny Dykes was an analyst before he became the head coach at SMU. Maybe he was paying attention while he was there.
Analyst at Texas Christian, of course.
Yeah, TCU, no doubt. Maybe he learned some company secrets.
Duggan needs 5. Pocket is there, down the field. Reagor, incomplete. Double coverage arrived. As Anthony Johnson's been everywhere in this first half, batted that one away.
And the corner position for Iowa State was said to be a weakness coming into the game. Lost a few veterans from last year, but Anthony Johnson has played really well. Matched up on Reagor outside, trailing him because Johnson knows that he has help over the top, and if you have Reagor out wide, typically the defense wants to have help over the top.
Sandy gets rid of it, and Milton with a fair catch.
And being that Big 12 championship game, huge question mark.
Jirel Brock, the new ISU running back, and he'll get the quick toss. 21 far side, tumbles out after a short gain. Gladney got there first. Well, the interesting thing about these 2 teams jockeying for position, they both play a pretty good brand of defense. And in this conference, it's really known as the OU throw 'em up, catch 'em league, or Texas doing the same thing at times with Sam Ehlinger. These 2 teams can play a smash mouth physical brand of football that you don't see. On 2nd down, Purdy surveys. Another pump fake. And dangerous toss, nearly picked off. Vernon Scott got a fingertip on it on a late flag near midfield. Deshaunte Jones, the intended receiver.
Defense, number 26. Penalty is an automatic first down.
Gary Patterson was not happy with Vernon Scott because he really didn't need to do that. He had great coverage, and as some defenders do, he panics late. When the order of the day is just simply play the football. Great coverage. You don't have to go through the receiver. Just turn, locate the football, and play the football, and Scott didn't do it right there.
Deshaunte Jones has already been targeted 7 times this afternoon. You follow number 8, chances are that's where the football's going. Brock tumbles down right at the line. Blackshear, the transfer from South Carolina, held him for no gain.
And Roy, back to your point about the way Iowa State and TCU plays defense, I think that's huge. They typically will hold the other teams in the Big 12 offensively, hold them under their season averages as far as points per game. And so they just play a level of defense that isn't seen elsewhere in this league.
Jones in motion. Purdy will fire to that side of the field. Petway lost his balance. And a flag coming from near the 15-yard line on the Arkansas transfer.
Prior to the pass, holding defense, number 24. 10 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Roy, the reason Petway lost his balance is because Julius Lewis bit on the double move and essentially tried to tackle Petway, and it's in college football, it's just a 15-yard penalty, and it's better than a touchdown. Man-to-man outside, straight up on Petway, and Lewis bites on the sluggo, the slant to the go, and actually in the end, if you're fooled on that, as a defender, impedes the receiver from getting a touchdown.
Jones, target number 8, tripped up crossing the 40. Important to note as well, Julius Lewis making his first appearance this season after missing the first couple of games with an undisclosed injury. And he was banged up way back in week 1, so getting Lewis back certainly is big for the Horned Frogs.
Yeah, banged up right like 3 or 4 days before the opening game of the season, and I think it was kind of a knee-on-knee situation in camp that Gary Patterson told us about. But two highly regarded corners in Lewis to go along with Gladney on the other side, number 12.
Brock stacked up quickly by D. Winters.
So, Roy, here is my question about Iowa State offensively. Where is their run game going to come from consistently? We already saw it, explosive run out of Brock Purdy in the quarterback zone run game. But the offensive line has been underwhelming. Colin Newell, the starting center, has been banged up and isn't playing again today. Hasn't played since week 1, but David Montgomery has come and gone, now playing with the Bears. So where's the Iowa State run game going to show up?
Sheldon Croney checks in, the 5th-year senior running back. As Petway motions out, Purdy, the pump fake, straight ahead. Needed 4, and he's going to be stopped about 2 yards short by Ennis Gaines.
It might be 4-down territory because of that kick game that you talked about earlier.
And the crowd loves the spot of that football. Coach Patterson probably did as well.
Dylan Sainer, the big tight end at 6'7", 270. The third tight end is coming in.
Cyclones 0 for 1 on 4th down today. They'll go for it again. Batted away. Incomplete. Looking for Charlie Kohler. Merrick. Outstanding coverage.
That's a well-coached Gary Patterson defense. Charlie Kohler is the go-to guy over the middle. It's recognizing formation, even though it's 4th down, and also personnel. And Kohler is going to go right to left on a crossing route and just gets jumped early by Merrick. And the diagnosis of a Gary Patterson defense is typically on point, and that's a great example of it.
Matt Campbell still has to be pleased with his team's start today. A 14-3 advantage. Last year's game between these two decided by 3 points. 2 years ago by just a touchdown here. And a massive upset by the Cyclones. TCU was ranked inside the top 5 at that point in the season in 2017. Duggan rolls out and airmails that toss out of bounds.
Yeah, Duggan airmailed that because he rolled out to his left as a right-handed thrower and never squared up to the line of scrimmage. That's a difficult pass to make regardless, but the key is get square to the line of scrimmage before you throw it. Remember, Alex Delton, a transfer from Kansas State, we thought we would see him potentially sometime today as kind of a put the brakes on a little bit of Max Duggan if he isn't looking good early, and he's not looking good right now.
They'll fake the handoff. They'll set the screen up for Anderson. Nowhere close. What does it take to settle down a freshman on the road in an environment like this?
Run game. run game and early quick passes, and Iowa State defensively knows that. And so here's a screen. You can't get more basic than this, and he airmails the screen. A little bit of early pressure on a screen, but the youngster, Max Duggan, is just not settled in yet.
Frogs 1 of 5 on 3rd down. They need 10 yards here. Here comes the pressure. There's the screen. Anderson. And a lasso tackle from behind will put Jet about 2 yards short of the line to gain. That's 8 yards on 3rd and 10. Zach Peterson tripped him up.
Darius Anderson knew where he had to get on the screen, and this is well executed. 3rd and 10, anticipating pressure. Perfect call is to dump it outside to a running back instead of max protect with him, and just couldn't get the line to gain.
Sandy off the side of his foot. That one caroms out of bounds. Almost to the stands here at Jack Trice Stadium. Outstanding field position for the Cyclones when we come back.
To come before the end of this one.
Johnny Lane, the new running back, will take the handoff, and the grab made at the 45. Merrick with the tackle, but that's a short gain by Deshaunte Jones.
So what do you think of Brock Purdy so far, based on what he told us yesterday about needing to kind of just grip it and rip it and quit overthinking it?
It's interesting you asked that question to me. I think the 45-yard run that he had loosened him up a little bit, but as far as everything else, he's been on target. We've seen him with the pump fakes. He's made sound decisions for the most part. I think it's very encouraging if you're a fan of the Cyclones. I mean, never mind the fact he was top 5 in the country in total O coming in. Inside handoff to Lane.
Yeah, and that total offense coming in was certainly heavily weighted to the pass yards, 347 coming into this, but they weren't running it well, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that David Montgomery's a Chicago Bear right now, and this offense was really funneled through him in the run game, and then a veteran offensive line that's banged up, and you have Colin Newell, as I said, the starting center that hasn't played since early in the season. The communication up front, Roy, hasn't been there in that run game where you have to make those subtle adjustments.
On 3rd down, Purdy has his man. Drive stays alive. And Jones, another catch. What a connection between 15 and 8 today.
Deshaunte Jones is emerging as that go-to weapon.
And a timeout called.
This is the first.
Gary Patterson will try to slow things down.
TCU, timeout on the field.
He'll have 2 remaining. 4:51 to go in our first half. Back in 60 seconds. Both of these teams and these coaches think they can win the conference. Plus territory now for Brock Purdy. Fires one deep. A laser shot out of bounds looking for Wilson. Gladney in coverage.
Well, back to those conference standings, I think there's a lot of intrigue. I don't think it's all about Oklahoma and Texas. I think these are a couple teams right here that play defense. That's different, you know, across the board in this conference. And I think Baylor's much different in this year under Matt Rule than they have been in the past. That's looking considerably different than what you've seen recently. I think there's some intrigue in this conference, no doubt. Although Oklahoma's pretty darn good.
Jalen Hurts has been better than I think both of us thought.
No doubt.
Back in the summer. Alabama transferred. Purdy, another strike. This went to Skates. So Joe Skates makes his first catch of the season, the redshirt freshman.
And Purdy getting the ball out on time, and that's key. There are times on tape when he doesn't set his feet and really drive that to the outside. Skates goes up and makes a catch on a ball that was a little bit inside. But again, the theme is grip it and rip it and quit overthinking it, and Brock Purdy did it right there.
Well, I love it when you give me that kind of terminology. After a gain of 7, it'll be 3rd down. Purdy had a receiver open. Milton slipped. 2 flags on the field.
Personal foul, illegal hands to the face. Defense, number 90. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Costly penalty against Ross Blacklock.
Blacklock is an NFL defensive tackle playing inside and just gets that right big mitt up to the face, and that's illegal. But one of the reasons TCU struggled defensively is because Blacklock went down with a knee in August of last season, and he's that musher up inside that caves the pocket consistently.
Purdy back to the air, floats one, wide open, touchdown ISU, Charlie Kohler.
Gaines, the safety, is initially matched up on Charlie Kohler. Kohler is an H-back in the backfield, and it's a wheel route. Wheel routes tend to get lost because tight ends typically go out into the flat on our secondary receivers. Kohler turns it up on a wheel, and his quarterback Purdy just drops it in the pocket. That was a little too easy, and Gaines was guessing outside.
Second touchdown of the season for the redshirt sophomore from Norman, Oklahoma. The Sally's extra point is good. 21-3, our new score. He's got a 3.98 GPA in mechanical engineering. One of the top tight ends in the nation. Pay dirt here.
Hey, my name is George, and I love the Chick-fil-A grilled nuggets. It's like me grilling at home. It tastes very similar to that, except the seasoning. I probably can't season it as well as Chick-fil-A does. The chicken's super tender and honestly the best nuggets I've ever tasted.
My name is Meredith, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A's mac and cheese is the oven-toasted, cheesy top layer. If home had a flavor, it would be Chick-fil-A's mac and cheese. I'm passionate about it.
Well, Kelly, in our early meetings this week talking about Iowa State, I deemed Charlie Kohler to be the most interesting tight end in the world, and in part because he's really bright, but also his production on the field in just his third season playing college football has been elite so far.
Yeah, I just felt uncomfortable talking to him because of all of the brain waves that were kicking back and forth between those ears.
Squib kick fielded at midfield as we go back to the studio.
All right, Roy, thanks. Coming up on the Army National Guard halftime report. Slow starts for both Oklahoma and LSU, but both are now comfortably in control. We'll show you how they got there, plus a rock fight in the Big Ten between Iowa and Michigan. We'll check in on that one in the Big House. Plus a look at the rest of the day around college football, all coming up when you join us for the Army National Guard halftime report. Roy?
To 3 minutes, 59
Kevin, you're the man
seconds.
we appreciate it. A new quarterback to tell you about as TCU sets up shop at midfield. Alex Delton, the transfer from Kansas State.
And we thought this might happen. Alex Delton might be a change of pace type of guy if Max Duggan wasn't seeing it early, and that was the case as we near halftime.
Team captain off the right side. Down quickly after a gain of 6. Greg Eisworth, first time we've called his name today.
Sonny Cumbie told us yesterday we need to pump the brakes a little bit on Max because he's not seeing it early. Then Alex Delton is that guy. He's a backup, takes backup reps, but he's always prepared to play. We'll see if Alex can get TCU going offensively.
Olanalua checks in. Rager with the catch, slipped and fell. He'll lose a yard, Kelly.
So, like a racehorse has to know the turf you're running on, and Rager's trying to make too many moves on a true natural grass surface that's a little bit salty, even though it was covered all morning.
Crowd on its feet on third down. Delton hands it off. Olanalua powers his way ahead. He'll be stopped about a yard short by Eisworth. 4th down. If you're Gary Patterson, you go for it?
I think you go for it right here. I think it's a 4th and a little less than a yard. I think you have to go for it right here. You have to count on your defense to play better than they have already. But I think Gary Patterson sees this as a turning point in this game potentially to get some points going into halftime.
Big play coming up for the Horned Frogs on the road. Olanalua, the running back. Delton pulls it out. Spin move, first down. Big sequence there for TCU.
That decision was a lot about Alex Delton being the quarterback. Gary Patterson loves this young man. Made him a captain. Good job on the quarterback zone read, and then Delton knowing what his team needs, and he gets the line to gain.
From the 36. Olanalua motions out. He'll get the swing pass. And brought down to the open field by Mike Rose. Good tackle for 23.
What a luxury to have a quarterback like Alex Delton behind the true freshman. It's really the best of both worlds. Max Duggan can get experience, and when he's not seeing it correctly, you put the veteran Alex Delton in to get the offense going. Not a bad game.
Less than 2 to play in our first half. He'll stop this one dead in its tracks.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 70, 5-yard penalty. It's 2nd down.
Cordell Awagwu. Bit too quick that time.
Gary Patterson needs that offensive line that he believes in to really bow their back right here and get something done. Get a hat on a hat, sort it out up front, get the running game going, and then supplement it with the timely pass game with Delton.
Horned Frogs with a couple of timeouts remaining. Tunnel screen. And running backwards is Davis. Lucky to get back to the line. And we'll see if Gary Patterson utilizes a timeout.
Iowa State has more speed defensively than they have in the past. Receiver might have been able to reverse field in the past, but Iowa State has improved on that back end. Not sure why a timeout isn't being called.
Under 30 to play. And finally, ISU will talk about it. 3rd and 14 coming up, back in 30 seconds. Thank you once again, Allstate. Jack Trice Stadium, 3rd and 14, 27 seconds remaining in our first half. And the Frogs need it. Delton, clean pocket all day to throw. He'll buy some time, rifles a shot, nearly intercepted. It'll bring up 4th down, and Eisworth was able to get a fingertip or 2 on it.
I'm just not sure about the time management situation right there. And Delton does a nice job here of escaping, but he actually escapes the wrong way. There was a little bit of room to the left, and he chooses to go the long way around because the majority of the receivers started on that side of the field. But not sure about why not use a timeout there. TCU has 2 of them. You could have at least used a timeout and talked about it, and this is going to be a moonshot.
Second charge timeout
as a field goal attempt.
30 seconds.
Griffin
timeout.
Kell, the long distance place kicker, checks in. What would be a 57-yard field goal attempt.
So take me inside the mind of Gary Patterson. Why would you not burn a timeout right there? I can't really figure out. You seemed interested in getting points. It was 3rd and long, so I don't know that you give up on the drive right there. If in the end you're going to send your field goal kicker out to try essentially a 57-yarder at this point.
Freshman from Arlington. Connected from 35 yards out back in the season opener against Arkansas Pine Bluff. And that's it. What's turned out to be a calm afternoon in Ames, the calm after the storm. And Iowa State will utilize a timeout.
This is the second timeout of the half by Iowa State, 32nd timeout.
Don't forget the big game coming up later tonight in Columbus. Number 25, Michigan State, 4th-ranked Ohio State. 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, over on ABC and the ESPN app. And mentioned Jalen Hurts earlier. How about Justin Fields tonight, who has been dynamic as the new signal caller at Ohio State?
I'll be honest, I had to wait and see on both of those guys. Justin Fields, you know, I didn't really see much, didn't get really an opportunity, and absolutely lighten it up. And Jalen Hurts, completely different system and is growing leaps and bounds under Lincoln Riley. I'm not waiting any longer on either one of those quarterbacks.
Both have been elite. Both Heisman contenders. Kell's field goal attempt on the way. Does it have enough distance? It does not. And the Cyclones defense holds with just 10 seconds remaining in the first half. Unusual sequence there, Kelly.
Yeah, I love Gary Patterson to death. I just don't understand the time management in that situation. Get a little push inside, and I think the young freshman quarterback gets a little fidgety and just pushes that one out right. Griffin, Cal had only had one attempt. You talked about it. Made it from 37, 35 actually, but that just did not look good.
Iowa State back at home, feeling just fine and dandy after 30 minutes in the books here at Jack Trice Stadium. 21-3 our score, the lead over TCU. We'll send you back to Kevin Connors for the Army National Guard halftime report after this. Well on his way to picking up his 10th career victory is the sophomore Brock Purdy. ISU set to receive the second half kick. Nwangu from inside the 5 with a lane. And tripped up by the kicker at the 40. Down to Lauren Sisler we go.
Look, Coach Patterson is a man of few words when his team is down 21-3. He said both his quarterbacks did not perform well there in the first half. They need to score points, and the defense has got to communicate better. Those are the only two things he told me coming out of the locker room.
The lack of communication on that touchdown to Charlie Kolar was one of those, miscommunications on the back end. Two defenders jumped the receiver in the flat and just inexplicably dropped the tight end on a route down the sideline.
Purdy 4th in the country in total offense coming in. Dangerous toss here. Jones grabs it off the deflection. Well, Merrick probably should have picked that pass off. Instead, it's a gain of 16.
And bad decision, even though it ended well for Brock Purdy. Merrick, you're exactly right, had the pick. Late throw, double covered on the crossing route, and should have been an interception.
Deshaunte Jones now over 100 yards receiving. Another catch on cue. One more look at that last play.
Yeah, Merrick is just going to come underneath the second crosser, the deep crosser that Purdy has in his vision and shouldn't have been thrown, and it ended well, but typically it does not.
Well, Kelly Jones now over 100 yards receiving. That's his 3rd game over the century mark, both this year and in his career. So Deshaunte Jones filling in admirably for Akeem Butler this season. It was Akers in motion, a couple of flags.
Ball start, offense, number 52, 5-yard penalty, second down.
These are the things that Matt Campbell obviously doesn't like, the pre-snap penalties. And this offense is efficient because they don't do a lot of this stuff. They don't have the things that are self-destructive.
Big possession here for both sides. A score by Iowa State, and you got to think Cyclones in prime position to pick up their first conference victory. TCU needs a stop right here and now. Nwangu on second down. A nice gain. Winters chased him out after he picked up 8.
Well, this is one of the things we talked about during the week is Brock Purdy's pocket presence and going to his checkdowns, which allows him to be in better rhythm. Throw it to tight ends and running backs. Typically, things in well, and that was a good example of it.
Purdy, well, had a run lane wide open, slipped and fell. A late collision right there in the middle of the pocket by O'Shawn Mathis. No flag.
We just got done talking about the checkdowns, and Charlie Kohler was coming on the crossing route, the big tight end from left to right, and was open. Brock Purdy could have put the ball on the big tight end and didn't, and then got into a little bit of trouble. The footing isn't great on this natural grass, but the ball shouldn't have been in Purdy's hands at that time anyway.
After a loss of 5, Rivera will send it end over end over the head of Jalen Reagor and caught perfectly inside the 5. For field position after the 37-yard punt as we step aside here in Ames. Alex Delton, Max Duggan, the 2 quarterbacks for TCU on the road here in Ames. The freshman and the transfer from Kansas State, and it will be Delton to start our second half for the Horned Frogs. A yard deep in his own end zone as he gives it to Darius Anderson, and Jet pummeled down crossing the 5 by Orion Vance.
In the first half, it was the same backed up type situation that resulted in a disaster as Iowa State came after Max Duggan. Iowa State on that first play right there electing to go rush 3, drop 8. Maybe thinking the TCU's more apt to throw with the more veteran quarterback in this situation.
TCU came in as one of the top 10 rush teams in the country. After a gain of 3 by Anderson, he'll lose all of that, plus 2 more as Mike Rose got there.
This is what the tight front defense, whatever you want to call it, that Iowa State is running. This is the way it's supposed to work. Spill stuff to the outside because of the front inside, and then kill it. Spill it and kill it literally is the term the defensive coordinators use.
62 rushing yards today for TCU. 3rd and long. Delton's got to be careful here. Clean pocket for the moment. Now flush. And the dump off goes nowhere. Well, it could have been a block in the back in the end zone. That may have been a safety. Instead, no flag. They'll punt it.
And Iowa State rushing 3, dropping 8. TCU electing to throw because there isn't much of a pass rush in that approach unless they can anticipate, Iowa State can anticipate a pass down, and then they'll bring some exotic stuff, but not right there.
Texas Christian this season, its lowest point total in any game, 34. The road win at Purdue. Held to just 3 points so far today by Iowa State. Milton calls for the fair catch, and ISU outstanding field position to start this next drive. Landon Akers almost got there to block that punt, Kelly.
And he didn't have a great angle, but he certainly got there in time. If he could have gone out in front a little bit, you're taught to take it right off the foot of the punter. But that wedge out in front of the punter forced Akers to go a little bit to the left, and he couldn't quite get his hand on the ball, even though he was there early enough.
Here comes Purdy, joined in the backfield by Johnny Lang. The sun is out in Ames after inclement weather brushed through earlier. Lang, wide open real estate. Into the red zone, upended there. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Cyclones.
Iowa State offensive line, I think, is tired of hearing about the fact that they underperformed. In fact, offensive coordinator Tom Manning said that they were very, very poor last week at Baylor, and I would agree because I watched the tape as well, but that was well blocked right there.
Manning has been with Matt Campbell about 15 years, with the exception of last season. Little shake and bake by Purdy. Brought down inside the 10. Tom Manning left ISU to go to the NFL. He joined the Colts for a year. Kelly, then he called the coach, Matt Campbell, back here in Ames and said, Coach, I want to come back. He said, okay, well, come on back. And he did.
When you coming? And if you do come, let's have a run game to go with Brock Purdy. And this is what it looks like. Brock Purdy was told during the offseason that the quarterback run is going to be front and center. We don't want our quarterback to take a beating, but we're going to need something to supplement the fact that David Montgomery's no longer with us.
And right on cue, here comes the draw. Purdy wide open to the end zone. Boy, this guy can do it all, and he's doing it today.
Iowa State runs literally a quarterback power. Two offensive linemen pull from the right side to the left. Purdy delays a little bit, gives the Purdy pump to the right, and then walks in without anyone touching him till way late. That was way too easy in the run game. TCU seems to have gone AWOL on the defensive line of scrimmage.
41 yards in 3 plays. Asali's extra point is good. Tom Manning told us Brock Purdy, he's an aggressive guy. If you tempt him, he's going to take the bait. Well, right there, he took the bait. And the end result was 6 points for ISU, and the Cyclones in control in Ames. Literally been on fire to start his first season with the Buckeyes.
We thought Justin Fields might have a speed bump at least last week in Lincoln, and that didn't materialize. I think he's going to get that with Mark D'Antonio's defense tonight. I don't know that it will be enough, however.
Narpson, the kickoff for Iowa State. And Davis, nowhere to run, tripped up, crossing the 20. Just 3 plays, 41 yards, that last scoring drive for Iowa State.
And Brock Purdy was told that he was going to be the center of this offense, and he gives it up to Johnny Lang early on just a simple zone up front, well blocked, and then it's the quarterback lead on this play, and then it's the quarterback power to get him in the end zone. Pull a lineman, pull a massive tight end, and Dylan Sainer, and Brock Purdy gets into the end zone.
41 yards in just 3 plays. Max Duggan, the new TCU quarterback, after a couple of possessions with Alex Delton. So the freshman has had some time to survey the field from the sidelines. We'll see if that makes a difference. John Stevens, the intended target. It's incomplete.
The thing you have to do as a quarterback as a whole, but especially a young one, you have to slow yourself down. Right now, Max Duggan is in a big hurry. That time he threw to a hitch route before the hitch route had any eyes on the ball, and that's a tough one to catch.
Duggan from Council's Bluff, Iowa, about 160 miles from right here in Ames. Olanalua bolts ahead. It'll be 3rd down and 2 after a gain of 8.
I still think there's time for TCU to run the football. 28-3, we're midway through the 3rd quarter. But they simply haven't been running it well. But that's been the workhorse for them this season at 275 yards a pop. We haven't seen that against Iowa State's defense today.
Crowd back in it. 3-man front for the Cyclones. And that time Duggan pulls it out, keeps it. Good enough for a 1st down. Dives for it to the 40-yard line. A nice job by the freshman. And an injured player for Iowa State is Greg Eisworth.
Maybe the most important player on the defensive side. All of that outside running game funnels to number 12.
Injury timeout as we step aside here in Ames. Now the leading tackler for Iowa State, Greg Eisworth, helped off the field moments ago, and Kelly, it feels like he kind of tweaked his right shoulder tackling Max Duggan.
Yeah, he leads, does Eisworth, with that right shoulder, and he's an integral part of what Iowa State wants to do defensively. when that run spills outside, he's typically the missile coming from his safety position that has that outside run.
A former Big 12 Defensive Newcomer of the Year, Eisworth, has been outstanding. Olanalua, a punishing catch on first down. That's nothing. Ozuna.
Greg Eisworth is what's called the star position. He's part safety, part linebacker, and then has to absorb the run as it's spilled to the edges. And the linebackers are part linebacker first, part safety. So that's the versatility you have on the back eight, really, in this Iowa State defense.
On second down, Olanalua really nowhere to run. What would you do right now if you're Gary Patterson to try to spark this offense? Because nothing really seems to be working with a flag on the field.
A very late flag, and it's going to be a hold outside on TCU to go from bad to worse.
Illegal block in the back. Offense, number 80. 10-yard penalty. It's second down.
Well, Dontre Davis is trying to just work hard outside to spring a run. But you have to know when to give up. And when you see the back of the defender and you're an outside blocker at the potential point of attack, that's the time to give up. But what would you do? Right now it's really difficult, but you have to find something in the pass game. The run game's not working. So get Max Duggan outside the pocket, change the launch point, split the field in half by the true freshman, and allow him to have an opportunity to get something done in the air.
Third down. Duggan wants it all. Has Rager wide open. Reeled in inside the 25, and the first big play of the afternoon for TCU.
And this never should happen on rush 3, drop 8, and you leave the alpha big play explosive Jalen Rager one-on-one with a safety, and Max Duggan finds him. Well done by the freshman quarterback. Find your playmaker. That's the name of this game.
Rager toasted Ozuna. That's a gain of 42. All day for Duggan. Finally in the flats, Olanalua makes something out of nothing ahead to the 15 and a gain of 4.
In TCU, we talked about it, Roy. The big plays have lacked to Jalen Rager because there isn't really another wideout that's defined themselves. And so the young freshman has really been up against it. The run game has bailed him out until today. But what a refreshing look for Gary Patterson to see number 1 Jalen Rager loose down the field.
So Ozuna checks in for Eisworth, and Rager promptly burns him for 42 yards. Second down here. And that's something to track. We'll see if TCU can take advantage with 12 off the field. Duggan, the spin. Bolts ahead for a first down. It should be first and goal TCU.
In plays like that, even though it was outside the design, Max Duggan is a quick, fast, good athlete at the quarterback position. So a good decision for a young quarterback is just what he did there. Nothing open in the red zone. Go ahead and make a play with your good feet.
After a gain of 6, Duggan appearing to be more confident. Now back on the field. Inside handoff and a gain of 1. Well, sometimes, Kelly, you're a quarterback. You understand the nature of the position. It just takes one play to find your rhythm and to spark your offense.
And it's amazing how much that happens. It's 28-3 here, but you go in and get a touchdown after a big play to Jalen Rager. You never know how the rest of the game's going to go.
Duggan starting to heat up, the former Iowa Gatorade Player of the Year. Enrolled early at Fort Worth. There he goes to the end zone for the touchdown. A late flag on the field, back at the 10.
Darius Anderson, the running back, he was the lead on that lead quarterback draw, and he absolutely tackled the edge defender by TCU. This is going to be a hold. The touchdown will not count.
Holding. Offense, number 6, 10-yard penalty. Second down.
And Roy, this is called a lead quarterback draw. And Darius Anderson is the lead part of that. So he's going to slip to the right. The defender comes over the top. It's a scraping linebacker, Vance, number 34, and that is exactly who Anderson is supposed to have, but you just got to chop him to the ground instead of tackling.
Rager, bottom of your screen, number 1 in white for TCU, and he's calling for it. Hoping for man coverage. Crosser wasn't there. Anderson was left open, and a punishing run ushered out at the 6. So on 2nd and goal from just about the 20, TCU now with a couple of plays to try to score.
And I think that's exactly what they'll have at 3rd and goal to go right here. I think it's 2-down territory, so you, if you're Sonny Cumbie, you call plays accordingly. This doesn't have to go in the end zone. Your freshman quarterback, Max Duggan, has to understand that.
Cumbie looking on, 3rd down and goal. Man coverage against Rager, bottom of the screen again. And they'll throw it his direction on the way. Reeled in for the touchdown. TCU. A big-time drive and a big-time play by Jalen Rager.
The game is pretty simple. If you can isolate your alpha to go up and make a play for you, and that's what Max Duggan does. It's a simple release, a fade, and then it's go up and get the football at almost 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. That's who Jalen Rager is as a player, and it's been few and far between this year, but the freshman recognized it, gave a thumbs up before the snap, knowing exactly what he wanted.
Well, he scored 18 touchdowns in his TCU career. Number 19 now, the thumbs up to tell his freshman quarterback, I'm ready.
No doubt about it. If you have your alpha receiver matched up, thumbs up and go up and get it. I'll give you a ball where you can do that. Rager touchdown.
3:44 to go in our 3rd quarter. Brand new game. TCU trying to scratch and claw its way back in it here in Ames, now trailing by 18. Lauren Sisler, Kelly Stoffer, Roy Philpott. Max Duggan appeared to be a different quarterback on that possession. As that kickoff sails into the end zone, it'll be 1st and 10 from the 25.
Well, Roy, you may note of this, that it's amazing the effect it can have on the offensive side of the ball when you can have a big play. And that was to Jalen Rager, the post down the middle. But Duggan kind of got going when he used his legs a little bit. But this is a different guy, and we've seen this act before. SMU, he was non-existent in the first half. The second half, just like here, he gets to feeling it a little bit. He has that ginger hair like Andy Dalton. TCU wants to see a little bit of Andy Dalton down the stretch here in the second half.
Oh, my. Well, that one came out of left field. Iowa State back in business. Here's Brock Purdy off the back foot. Milton has it. Still alive. And finally brought down at the 46. And instead, the spin move, he put the hand down into plus territory. Tariq Milton impressive.
And Tariq Milton is doing that on Jeff Gladney, one of the best cover corners in this conference. And Milton gets a little bit of separation on the dig route. Zero pressure once again on Brock Purdy by that defensive line of scrimmage of TCU, which has been a problem all year, by the way.
After a gain of 30, Lang, he'll fake it his direction. Purdy takes off. That's another 1st down for the Cyclones. Brock Purdy directing traffic has been incredible. That's a gain of 20 more.
TCU just doesn't have an answer. The quarterback zone read once again. This time the zone read part is away from where Brock Purdy actually keeps the ball.
Iowa State utilizing more tempo today. They've had more big plays to do it with. Even if it's the hurry up and wait variety. Lang gets it this time. Off right tackle. Sandwiched between two defenders. D. Winters led the charge.
And I don't think going hurry-up tempo at a fast-paced type of tempo has really worked for Iowa State this year. I noticed that on tape. It really wasn't that effective. But the hurry-up and wait kind, it really has the same type of effect on a defense. The quarterback can get up there, give the appearance of going fast, get a good look at the defense because they have to get lined up. They don't know when the ball's snapped. One of the advantages the offense have, they're the one controlling when the ball's going to be snapped.
Four-man front for the Horned Frogs. Pump fake by Purdy. All kinds of time. Sensing pressure. Lang was left wide open towards the end zone. A little shake, a little bake. It'll be first and goal for ISU. That play reminiscent of how Iowa State scored against Baylor last week.
I was thinking the same thing. It was an extended play, and then the running back was dropped on coverage, cleared to the opposite side of where the quarterback Purdy was looking originally. Big touchdown against Baylor that really got Iowa State going in that second half. Purdy directs traffic more than a school crossing traffic cop. It's amazing to see. If it's not a pump fake, he's directing something. Fran Tarkenton back in the day looked like that.
Previous play is under review.
It's a gain of 23, and perhaps Lang tiptoed down the sideline in that sequence. Our replay official, Don Capral.
What's interesting, when we talked to Gary Patterson yesterday, we talked about the Baylor game. What did you see as we take another look to see if Johnny Lang actually went out of bounds a little sooner than originally marked? Dropped on the coverage. Lang started to lose his footing, regained it, but does he ever go out of bounds? I don't know that that constitutes indisputable video evidence with no doubt. I think I see green grass between the shoe and the out of bounds paint. I take back everything I just said. I think it's going out of bounds on the 9. Producer Rob Adansky, I need to see that zoom a little bit sooner than going out on a limb like that. I'm not sure.
Well, the football was originally marked out inside the 5. In this case, it would move back about 4.5 yards.
I think we still might be good at where it was originally marked, to be honest with you. Indisputable video evidence. They set the bar high for a purpose.
Here's the call.
Play was under review to see if the runner stepped out of bounds at the 9-yard line. The ruling on the field that he did not stands as called. It's first down.
That sequence very important, what the original call on the field was.
It's a different set of plays. If you're +9 versus +3, it's a completely different column on the deep red zone chart. And the way that Iowa State has been running the football, particularly with Brock Purdy, it's completely different.
Johnny Lang has been active last week, and to start this game this week, he joins Purdy in the backfield. Power formation for, gets it straight ahead for the score. Johnny Lang to the end zone from 3 yards out. Nice answer by the Cyclones after TCU finally figured itself out on offense.
Yeah, the player of the game this game thus far is the offensive line in total for Iowa State. Underperformed a few times this year, particularly last week in Waco, but held up really well today.
Gary Patterson's talked about it a lot this year. He has a young team. He's had to replace a lot of talent that's moved on to the NFL. And so far today at the line of scrimmage, TCU's been overwhelmed.
And that's the strength of what Gary Patterson does have. It's the 2 defensive tackles in Blacklock and Bethley, and this offensive line that's kind of makeshift. Colin Newell, the starting center, has been out since the first game of the year. So Colin Olson, the best guard, left guard, moves over to center. Trevor Downing moves up as a redshirt freshman to that left guard position. The thing that I saw on tape was the lack of communication up front when Colin Olson has to go in at center. You lose your best guard, but you also lose the communication at the center position. They've been buttoned up today and been giving the business to this TCU defense.
Are you surprised by 35-10 at this point, knowing what we've seen out of both of these teams so far this year?
I had TCU winning in a slobber-knocking, low-scoring game today, so I was dead wrong.
Davis and Rager back deep to receive. Narbson kick. And Darius Davis hit the X button. Nowhere to run. Lost real estate inside the 10.
The special teams today have gone in Iowa State's column as well, Roy, and a lot of times that really points to more depth in the program. That's where the guys have to play. The number 2s and number 3s typically supplement your special teams, and Iowa State has won that area of the game today also. Matt Campbell talks about in this program, you're always kind of living in the margins, and right now his margins are looking pretty good. Not a lot of 4 and 5 stars out there, but guys that play with a lot of heart.
Empty backfield. Duggan back under center there in the shotgun, and the pass incomplete, looking for Stevens.
Duggan's had the protection to wait long enough for Stevens to kind of get over top of that second level defender that was trying to wall him off. I believe it was 34 Vance, and had the time, but then just didn't throw an accurate pass.
Duggan was benched for 3 series, going back to the end of the second quarter. A handoff left side. And on 2nd and 10, a gain of 4, the stop by Braxton Lewis.
Be very careful right here. Going to 3rd and a pass down, particularly in this situation, down 35-10. But I have a feeling that John Haycock, defensive play caller for Iowa State, he has a decision to make. Do I get after the youngster in a backed up situation or play clutter behind him by dropping 8? Looks like pressure right now.
Shea Woalalua, the running back, on 3rd and 6. Duggan plats for it. Across the middle, pass is caught by the tight end, Artavius Lynn. And on 3rd down and long, Lynn will move the sticks.
The end of the 3rd quarter.
What turns out to be the final play of our 3rd quarter. 35-10 our score. Matt Campbell told us this week we don't have a lot of 5-star prospects. We've got a 5-star culture. That's on display so far off for the first day of school, and making sure the family is around practice and even on game day at times. Pitch and catch to start our 4th quarter. Hunt with a grab.
And I think that's one of the ways that you really accentuate what you have to sell here. You know, Brock Purdy's here because of Matt Campbell, as an example. The right environment. You have to build it, because you're not going to build it by getting 4 and 5 stars. You have to build it differently, and that's a great way to do it.
Set up the screen to Anderson. A flag on the field. We'll check the penalty as Duggan went down deep.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 92. 15 yards from the end of the play. Automatic first down.
Jamal Johnson, one of those interior defensive linemen in this rush 3, drop 8. Only rushing 3 and getting pressure on the bull rush. But the big man Johnson at 6 foot, 300 pounds, gets there just a skosh late. And Scotia's just a little bit late.
For those wondering, from plus territory, here's Duggan. Off the back foot, a laser down the middle of the field. Reeled in by Hunt. It'll be 1st and 10 from the 15 as Hunt toasted Lawrence White that time for a gain of 34.
Yeah, quarters coverage on the back end needs 2 high safeties, but This was an incredibly well-thrown football by Hunt.
And again, Duggan looking different in this second half after coming off the bench. Sent down at the 10 by Orion Vance.
And Hunt is going to go down the middle of the field. It's really the soft underbelly of two high safeties. But you have to go over top of the coverage underneath, but get it there quickly enough before those safeties can react off the hashes. And you can't really do it much better than Max Duggan did it right there.
Starting to settle in here in this second half, perhaps too little too late. Anderson will get the first down. It'll be 1st and goal for TCU.
Really nice throw by Max Duggan, and then a little bit of movement with his feet again. When he got going on that last drive, it was the big play, and then it was a couple plays with his feet that really gave him some juice.
Totally different player between the first and second halves. That'll be a first down after Duggan goes straight ahead. TCU still with a little bit of time to work with. Certainly a sense of urgency on this possession. More importantly, can the Horned Frogs slow down Brock Purdy if they score here?
And the answer has been no in the recent past in this game.
8-man box for Iowa State. Anderson straight ahead for the touchdown. Darius Anderson scores for the Horned Frogs right through the tackle, or attempted tackle, of Justin Bickham.
And a quarterback zone read, which Max Duggan did in high school. He's very good at this. Rides Anderson into the line of scrimmage for a long time, holds that defensive end just enough for Anderson to slip up inside. That's the purpose of that long ride. It's called the mesh point between quarterback and running back, and Duggan did it greatly right there.
92 yards in 10 plays. The freshman quarterback hands it off to Darius Anderson, and the TCU offense back in gear in this second half. Do they have enough time? We're about to find out. Yes, it does. Adesanya. Well played. Well, Brock Purdy's been efficient today as the kick will be fielded inside the 5. And a poor decision by Nwangu. Poor field position coming for ISU as we take a look at today's game flow, brought to you by Progressive.
Brock Purdy has been sensational at times with his eyes, hitting off his number 1, going to 2, in rhythm going to 3, and then it almost brings a tear to my eye as he gets to his check down, which was number 4. That's beautiful stuff by Purdy. And then this is just a 2-man concept outside. The big tight end, Charlie Kohler, ends up catching a touchdown and goes on the wheel route after appearing to have been blocking for a screen.
Greg Eisworth has already been banged up for ISU. LaKendrick Van Zant helped off the field moments ago for TCU as Real Mitchell checks in at quarterback for Iowa State. So a lot happening here. Meanwhile, TCU still has a chance in this one, trailing by 3 scores at 18 points. Mitchell keeps it, and the Blaze package is brought down at the 20. So a gain of 8, maybe 9 on first down.
Well, Real Mitchell might be in for that very reason, to run the football and not take, if you're going to have a quarterback run game on the table squarely to run the clock a little bit, Brock Purdy may not want to take that punishment, but that only lasted 1 play, and Purdy's back at attention again.
Well, I like the change of pace, and certainly it looks a lot better when you gain 9 yards on first down. Lane gets a handoff on 2nd and short. We'll move the chains. If you're Gary Patterson, do you try to stack the box, crazy blitz? What do you do?
I thought that would be the game plan anyway. Take away the run and force the wide receivers for Iowa State that are question marks in terms of an alpha being defined outside to make plays against 2 really good cover corners in Gladney and Lewis. But we haven't seen much of that today.
Under 12 to play. Purdy's the quarterback and keeps it to the 25. That'll be a gain of 1. O'Shawn Mathis the tackle.
See, that type of play that Real Mitchell could be in running, just like he did the first play of this series. Why not let him do that and not have Purdy take another couple of hits if you're going to end up keeping the football on the ground, which the Iowa State offensively is looking to do right now.
Second and 9. These two teams played a couple of close games the last few years. Purdy, seam route, in and out of the hands of Petway, the Arkansas transfer. Vernon Scott dislodged the football.
And Petway was getting up the seam, and there was a deep safety that ends up breaking on the ball, and that was a decent throw, good route, and then the late break just breaks it up. That's the way the center fielder safety is supposed to play that. Well timed by Vernon Scott.
Missed the SMU game. Gary Patterson indicating to us this week that was enormous against what Sonny Dykes likes to employ on offense. Pressure off the edge on 3rd and long. Purdy floats one, incomplete. And the Horned Frogs finally get the stop they needed on defense.
And that was the type of defense that we thought we would see all day out of TCU. Everybody covered like a glove down the field, well communicated on the back end. Purdy had time to throw. There wasn't a ton of pressure, but nowhere to throw that football.
Jalen Reagor drops back deep to receive, a dangerous return man. Special teams player of the week in the Big 12.
We'll punt this ball out of bounds before I give it to Reagor.
He's thinking the same thing. Rivera turns it over beautifully, and Reagor forced to call for the fair catch. He'll do that at the 26. Horned Frogs get it back, trailing by 18. This afternoon, regardless of outcome, as the Horned Frogs get it back. Duggan, the freshman, former Iowa Gatorade Player of the Year, dumps it off. Alanalua, first down TCU, and this game has felt totally different since Duggan reemerged off the bench a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and you really saw the formula. A couple of big plays got this offense going, and then Duggan has made some plays with his feet, and I think that's important for this young man as well.
After a gain of 19, Alanalua straight ahead, bottled up, driven backwards. Zach Peterson got there first.
And Roy, that's exactly what TCU has not had today. Coming in, they've been running the ball for 275 yards a game, and they just haven't gotten it going today.
Duggan enrolled early at TCU, going back to January. Has yet to throw an interception in his TCU career. Fumble was forced back in the second quarter that led to a touchdown. Wide open, breaking is Hunt, who brings it in at the 22, and that time Duggan underthrew his receiver. Bickham was in coverage, gain of 34.
Datron Young was on coverage, and he ends up jumping something in the flats and allows the receiver, Hunt, to go uncontested. The safety did not have time to get over. That obviously wasn't communicated well on the back end for Iowa State.
Duggan suddenly in control. Fires another shot, this one towards the end zone. Brought in for the touchdown. Jalen Reagor. Second scoring grab of the afternoon. This one from 22 out.
And once again, Jalen Reagor is isolated by himself outside, and the freshman does a nice job of recognizing that. Jones, number 16, is on the coverage, but doesn't see the football. And then you have Reagor that goes up and just rakes the ball in the air, which he's known for. Well thrown by the young quarterback as well. Give your receiver an opportunity to go up and get one in the end zone, and Duggan does just that.
Tell you what, if TCU is unable to complete this comeback, still have to believe Max Duggan has grown up a lot in these last 2 quarters. Second touchdown toss, this one to Jalen Reagor. TCU in business.
Would you rescue me?
As Max Duggan has started to emerge back in his home state here in Iowa. 35-24, still an eternity left to play as a fair catch is made inside the 5. Let's see who's slinging it today. Brought to you by Sling TV, the freshman signal caller, Kelly.
Max Duggan is not only slinging it, he's ripping and ripping. He looks much more comfortable as of late, throwing it to Hunt on a broken coverage right there. And then how about find your alpha playmaker and give him a chance? And Jalen Reagor hauls it in. And Gary Patterson told us when that guy's even doubled, sometimes he can still get open. That time he was singled, and just give him a chance, and that's what Duggan does. Much better in the second half than the first. Very much like the SMU game. Even though that one resulted in a loss, TCU has a chance right here.
And Kelly, 3 timeouts to work with. 9:01 remaining in our fourth quarter. Lang bolts ahead and picks up 9, maybe 10 on first down.
And Roy, we've talked about it, though. TCU needs to see something different out of their defensive line of scrimmage. You need Ross, Blacklock, and Corey Bethley to do something up inside. Number 90 and number 94 are just letting too much room in the north-south run game out of Iowa State.
Second down in inches. Lang picks up the first down and then some. Dragging defenders crossing the 40. O'Shawn Mathis finally brought him down. That'll move the chains.
You got to give credit to Iowa State's offensive line. Everyone in this building knows that Iowa State wants to milk the clock, take the air out of the ball, as they say, and keep it on the ground. And TCU knows that and still can't do anything about it.
And movement up front. TCU in the neutral zone. That was Corey Bethley.
Offside defense. Number 94 into the neutral zone, causing a reaction by the offense. 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
Bethley and Blacklock, the 2 defensive tackles for Gary Patterson's defense. Some call them at least a top 5 defensive tackle combination in the country. And Iowa State's offensive line have handled those guys for the most part today.
Certainly would agree with that assessment. Iowa State impressive. So many different ways this afternoon, trying to hold on to this 11-point advantage. Lang will change directions. Met with resistance around midfield. It'll be second down. Vernon Scott got there first.
That pre-snap penalty by Corey Bethley looming large right here. And it wasn't a very good run, and it still ends up at 2nd and 2 because of that first down penalty. You would expect this one to be on the ground as well.
Cyclones trying to stay afloat in the Big 12 standings. Lost on the road at Baylor last week in heartbreaking fashion. Rallied from a big-time early deficit. This week they're trying to do the opposite. Hold on after leading 28-3 into the flats. Need to make a man miss was Landon Akers, and there he goes. Iowa State with a first down in the red zone. Now Vernon Scott finally brought him down, but not before he gained 32 yards.
Landon Akers ends up on what's called just a swing route as a wide receiver matched up on Merrick, the safety that comes down and misses the tackle.
Face mask, defense, number 7. Half the distance to the goal from the end of the run, automatic first down.
Akers on the swing once again, and Merrick is coming down from his safety position, reaches up with the right hand and gets a little bit of face mask, but didn't get much of anything on Landon Akers.
A touchdown here would be critical for Iowa State, trying to soft this one away. Purdy scored on this play earlier. Gets to the edge, towards the end zone for the touchdown. Little quarterback power. Brock Purdy finds a way. Tell you what, he's sneaky fast at times from what we've seen this afternoon, Kelly.
Some tremendous blocking up front. And then Brock Purdy at the end gives Vernon Scott the limp leg. We've seen the Purdy pump. You see the blocks up front. And then that limp leg out on the edge with Vernon Scott, kind of the hesitation and go. The quarterback run game, whether it's been the quarterback zone read or the power play as that one was, all of it's looked good.
Don't look down, but Brock Purdy 1 yard short of 100 on the ground. His second touchdown here. Quarterback power working to perfection, and the Cyclones in search of that first conference victory. Cyclones leading TCU 42-24. Brock Purdy, fourth in the country in total offense coming into this game. 358 yards per contest. Look at what he's got so far today.
Fairly consistent young man as well. And his decision making has been outstanding today. A little better pocket presence, as we talked about wanting to see out of him. And he told us yesterday, stop thinking and grip it and rip it. That's in the run game and the pass. Make great decisions and do it quickly.
Tommy Manning, the play caller for Iowa State, told us as Rager fields the muff. And then lost the football. Iowa State jumps on it. Cyclones will have their best starting field position of the afternoon. I was going to say, Kelly, Tommy Manning told us Brock Purdy makes great decisions 95% of the time. Today in this game, it's been 100% of the time. And Iowa State, the benefactor with this monstrous lead.
And it is confirmed as Iowa State's ball, but TCU uncharacteristically undisciplined in various areas of this game. On the defensive line of scrimmage, missed tackles coming up from the safety position, and then loose with the football a couple of times. Gary Patterson's teams are coached better than that, and rest assured it's not going to be a fun day at practice the next few days. And TCU actually goes into a bye week. So that's going to be a long, long bye week. It's a beautiful thing to have a bye when you're coming off a big win, and this is not that.
Rory Walling jumped on the loose football after Rager lost the grip. Purdy back on the field. And the fans here at Jack Trice Stadium, who have showed up in outstanding numbers after the 2-hour weather delay, have to love what they've seen so far. Purdy tumbles, crossing the 15. And with that rush, now over the century mark. Late flag on the field as well. Well, Kelly, just like we all expected, Brock Purdy's going to rush for over 100 yards today.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct. TCU number 90, half the distance to the goal, automatic first down. It's number 90's first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the day.
Ross Blacklock getting the unsportsmanlike after that play. I think that's part of the frustration that you're beginning to see. But you talked about Brock Purdy rushing for over 100 yards, and I don't know exactly that I expected that, but Tom Manning said that the quarterback run game needed to be a consistent addition to what we want to do in the run game, because we lose David Montgomery and we don't really have that running back defined yet that can carry the load.
Jirel Brock straight ahead, punishing hit. Ball may have popped out late as well. And this game starting to become unglued. Multiple flags in the end zone. There's a little tussle emerged. Joe Skates for Iowa State and Hodges Tomlinson for TCU.
I gave you Hodges Tomlinson, and it actually still may have been Jeff Gladney that was in there. And Joe Skates, we saw him at practice yesterday, and he's a speed guy, runs a lot of post routes down the middle, and needless to say, it's gotten a little bit chippy down the stretch. A little frustration out of TCU and a little pounding of the chest out of Iowa State.
Colin Olsen jumped on the loose ball to keep it with the Cyclones.
Trayvon Merrick was the defender that had a great hit on the run initially to knock that ball loose. And then it was a WWE event after that. Neither one of these coaches want anything to do with that nonsense.
It's been a physical game despite the lopsided score. And for Gary Patterson and Matt Campbell, should be a big win for Iowa State, and Gary Patterson moving into the open date will have to go back to the drawing board, so to speak, with this young Horned Frogs program.
And Gary told us yesterday that he has an odd kind of mix of veteran talent, and then everyone else behind him are young guys that haven't played a whole lot. A lot of newbies.
Unsportsmanlike conduct fouls by both teams. Number 9 for TCU, number 12 for Iowa State. The fouls will offset. It's second down.
Brandon Cruz mixed up the numbers.
Opposite, yeah. And I think what you had is Skates is the redshirt freshman outside with a veteran senior cover corner in Jeff Gladney, and Skates was getting a little bit chippy coming in and getting some reps late in the game, and the veteran Gladney didn't want any part of it and had enough. Slap on the wrist and we play ball once again.
Fouls were on 9 for Iowa State and number 12 for TCU, both first unsportsmanlike conduct of the game.
Charlie Kohler locked up in man-to-man coverage just off your screen. Now at the bottom. And now will serve as a blocker as Lang bolts forward. Stop just short of the goal line. It'll be second down. Make that third down and goal.
And Roy, the growth and maturity of the tight end position. When Matt Campbell first came to this program in Ames, they literally didn't have a tight end position. And so now you have the likes of Charlie Kohler showing up, and Chase Allen's another guy that throw to, and Dylan Sainer is a big dude that's essentially like another offensive lineman in the game. But that trio of tight ends have really become targets for Brock Purdy that have worked well.
Allen's caught a touchdown today, as has Charlie Kohler.
5 to 25 to already 26 receptions on the year by that position. That literally did not exist in this program a few years ago.
Horned Frogs will have an open date after this matchup in Ames, before the schedule starts to ramp up a little bit. Road trip to Manhattan and Texas comes to town. Always a fun time between the Longhorns and Horned Frogs. And again, Gary Patterson indicating to us, as well to the media in Fort Worth, a young team. And they're going to be a lot better by the end of the year compared to what they are right now, especially if Max Duggan continues to develop.
Well, but the young guys aren't the guys that have played overtly poorly today. It's been guys inside, defensive tackles that have experience, safeties that have a little more experience, a defense that frontline guys have some playing time under their belt, and they haven't played well today. They haven't really showed up a lot, but nothing worse. You see the roster breakdown, a lot of newbies, no doubt, by Gary Patterson, but some really big mistakes made by the veterans on this team today.
Power formation. Lang in the backfield, flanking Brock Purdy. And he'll get the call. Right side for the score. Second touchdown for Johnny Lang.
Well, you talked about it on the play before that Charlie Kolar starts outside, and he could be a matchup to go up and get a jump ball in the end zone, but he comes back and it ends up being a balanced formation with twin H-backs, both tight ends, and it can be run either direction. Well executed by Iowa State to put this one, I think, in the books.
The Cyclones have gone over 400 yards of total offense again today. That marks all 5 games this year. They've achieved that mark. More importantly, dominating on the scoreboard.
You called this tight end, Charlie Kolar, Roy, the most interesting tight end in the world. Comes in motion, blocks out. But the use of the tight ends at Iowa State that didn't exist just before Matt Campbell got here.
Charlie Kolar, the redshirt sophomore from Norman, Oklahoma. His parents both professors at Oklahoma for a period of time before his mom moved on to be an attorney in the homicide division down in that state. He's got a story to tell, and he's on chapter 3, perhaps, of a 12-chapter novel by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, he's an interesting dude. There isn't any doubt about that. His parents are doctors of various and sundry things along the way, and who knows, Charlie might be headed to be called doctor somewhere along the way as well.
49-24 our score. As the kick brought out from the goal line. And stopped short of the 25 is Darius Anderson. He's got a 3.98 GPA in mechanical engineering. You mentioned his parents, but how about this? He played high school ball with Trey Young, now with the Atlanta Hawks, and he told us yesterday, yeah, he averaged a lot of points. I averaged about 4 per game, and I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah, he was on a pretty explosive team. Trey Young certainly in the middle there that you can see.
Trey, the lottery pick, and Charlie has really done a great job making a name for himself with outstanding production so far this year. And Lauren, he's second in the nation in receptions per game for a tight end this year.
Yeah, he's having a tremendous performance so far, but not enough great things being said about Charlie Kolar from his teammates and his coaches, and of course he's extremely smart.
Peterson swats it away.
Yeah, he's extremely smart and credits his parents for many of his attributes. His mother, Maria, for her hard work and selflessness. She always puts in so much time for her children. And how about his father, Randall? He says he keeps him humble, frugal, and taught him to be a good role model despite a job promotion and being a CEO. You'll catch his dad riding his bike into work. So the guys have seen him riding his bike into work, waving to him in town.
Mentioned that on the way to the state championship game in high school. The team was busing in to Oklahoma Stadium, and they saw dear old dad biking back to his house so he could drive in to watch his son play. And Charlie said the team applauded the effort and really appreciated all he brought to the table for his son, both in his high school career and, of course, now. Duggan pressured and sacked. It'll be 4th down. Will McDonald, former linebacker, now playing up front for John Haycock with a sack. Well, you got to love it when dad bikes to work and then back home every single day.
Dear old dad, you talked about him being frugal. He researched, he loved his backpack, didn't want to buy a new one. Researched to find an old one just like it online. It was a decade plus old just because he wanted the same one. He didn't want to come out of pocket with a new one. Frugal indeed.
Milton in traffic.
Wonder how long Dad's had his bike.
Probably a while, I'm thinking. Cyclones in control with possession, under 3 to play, well on their way for their first conference win.
Well, how do you think our race in the Big 12 is sorting out? This two teams in that second pack that we showed, and both of them will now have one loss in conference.
Well, it feels like Oklahoma State has dropped back a little bit after the last score we saw in Lubbock, Texas. The Red Raiders keeping Chuba Hubbard at least in check. So certainly a big check in favor of Iowa State after today. The Cyclones will be in Morgantown next week. West Virginia come off a tough game later today against Texas. That game has already kicked off. As Lang is tripped up by Merritt.
And the thing to note, obviously, that both of these teams still have Texas and Oklahoma. We're leading that race that we talked about. I like the fighting Matt Rules in Waco.
Sure.
To be honest with you,
yeah.
They look different. That's one of the games that we broke down because Iowa State obviously was just in there last week. And Baylor looks different. They look tougher. It's not about just spreading things out and scoring 55 points and winning by a field goal. It's beating people up at the same time. That was a hard-hitting bunch defensively.
Hot game down in Waco. That was the big talk afterwards as Iowa State is facing temperatures reportedly of 140 degrees on their sideline due to how the sun was positioned down in Waco that afternoon. But this is a nice bounce back win, and I think what it does, you still have all of your goals still out in front of you because you still have Oklahoma and Texas on the schedule. You build some nice momentum after a couple of close losses that really could have derailed this season for Iowa State. I mean, the comment that Matt Campbell gave us, you know, we're worthy of suffering. He kind of understands where the team is. You lose Hakeem Butler, David Montgomery. Brock Purdy's still very young, even though most people don't realize that. They were humbled by what occurred down at Baylor and against Iowa, their arch rival. And now I think they've learned from that. They've grown from it. And let's see what it equates to as we go through the year.
Yeah, they started this season in that overtime victory over Northern Iowa, so they were on the good end of that one, and then 3 points from being undefeated. And feeling defensively played both of those games well enough to win, and offensively they just couldn't get it done.
The next home game for Iowa State, end of the month, as the Cowboys come to town. Road trips to Morgantown and Lubbock on the horizon. One more kneel down, and that'll be it. Impressive performance, really from start to finish today on both sides for the Cyclones.
And I think the key with Iowa State is what happens offensively. And Brock Purdy, I thought, stepped forward in the areas that he needed to. Great decision making, not overthinking things. Make a decision and let her fly. And the run game. He's a good athlete. The run game supplement out of the quarterback position was on the table also. Very effective.
Two great coaches meeting at midfield with Gary Patterson and Matt Campbell, and certainly a lot of respect shown between those two. Big win for Iowa State. 49-24 our final scores. The Cyclones pick up their first Big 12 win of the season and improve to 3-2 overall. TCU falls to 1-1 in the league, 3-2 as well. Another hard-hitting contest between these two emerging Big 12 rivals in the books. Matt Campbell, the winning coach, is with our Lauren Sisler. Lauren?
Coach, you get your first conference win today. How did you see your team take the next step?
Yeah, you know, this team's been really close all year, and they've never really blinked. They just keep playing. We've practiced really well, and it's been fun to watch this team just keep growing.
TCU got a little spark there in the third quarter. How did your defense respond to get you guys back on the board and back in rhythm?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I thought it was great. Our special teams was able to make a really big play, and I thought it kind of swung it back in our favor. And, you know, that's the thing I really appreciate about this team. It's going to take team efforts here for Iowa State to be successful. And so collectively, special teams, offense, defense, we played in pretty good rhythm today.
One thing Brock Purdy told us is he really wanted to settle down and have more fun. How did you see him perform today and really take that next step as your quarterback?
Yeah, you know, Brock's really special. Nobody wants to win more than Brock, and nobody wants to be more successful. successful. And, you know, we had a long talk on Sunday just about poise and taking the next step. And he helps me as a coach, and hopefully at times I can help him.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thanks so much.
Well, Lauren, it's interesting. That long conversation resulted in 247 yards through the air, but perhaps more importantly, a career-high 102 on the ground for the sophomore quarterback, Brock Purdy. Now 10-4 as the Cyclones starter. An impressive performance here at home. Once again, our final score, Iowa State 49, TCU 24. For Kelly Stopper and Lauren Sisler, I'm Roy Philpott. Good afternoon from Ames, Iowa.